as yet unspecified. And we've probably shaken them up. They're probably a bit more scared, and they're probably dispersing as we speak into away from the concentrations that they confidently held in Muridke and Bahawalpur. So we've achieved these specificities surely. But beyond that, was that it? That was our goal and intention. Beyond that, fine, we're done.
No, I think the Prime Minister spelled it out very clearly on the very first day. He says we're going to hit you at your roots. Now, if you really look at the roots of terrorism in Pakistan, they're not the LET or the JEM headquarters. They are if I may be blunt enough to say that, it's the army headquarters in Rawalpindi perhaps, or the ISI headquarters. Every Pakistani army chief has a close connection with the ISI. And now they brought in the ISI chief also as a national security advisor. So that's in fact strengthening the organization, if you ask me, in a way. So is Pakistan going to learn that lesson? That is the lesson I think we want to teach Pakistan. Obviously, we can't sort of say we're going to take out the entire Pakistan army. But certainly we would like to do enough to deter the Pakistan army from allowing terrorism to take root once again in Pakistan, or to strengthen terrorism, cross-border terrorism, or to support it. So I think the aim here is not the terrorist organization per se. It is terror funding, it is terror encouragement, it is a state sponsorship of terrorism that is happening.
Okay.
Perhaps that is what we are looking at in a way.
Okay, so is it enough at this stage?
Is it enough by this stage
to shake? Is it enough at this stage to shake them by the collar? Okay, and give them a demonstration of our capacity that we can do this. All right, your air defense cannot match it. We can probably take out all your critical air defense sites in one fell swoop. So we are capable of penetrating your air defense. You are less capable of penetrating ours. Is proving that point simply sufficient for now, or do we actually have to go and do it, actually take out their war fighting abilities for a period of time?
No, I don't think we intend to take out their war fighting capability. I mean, that will always be there. You can't destroy a military totally. Army, Navy, Air Force, they are a professional force. They are well equipped in many ways. They get support from other countries. So all that we cannot take out in a way. But firstly, we have to definitely establish something they already know, that we have conventional superiority across the land, air and sea domains. Number one. Number two, whenever Pakistani army has been on the back foot inside the country, they have tried to divert attention by, doing something in India, because then they reinforce their position that, we have to protect with the people, that we have to protect you against India, and that's why we need to be a powerful army. So if we can sort of dismantle that perception among the Pakistani populace that your army is not the be-all and end-all of your existence, and in fact they're doing more damage to your country than any good, that I think will be a very successful strategy. In that, either we economically choke them and bring them to their knees, the country as a whole realizes that.
Okay, quick last question before a couple of others joining us, and I want to get a perspective before this press conference starts. But the Pakistani army, of course, is a complicated beast that still considers 1971, which is an unconditional surrender, a victory. Okay, so given that state of mentality, it's an irrational mentality, but it exists. It exists for intents and purposes best known to them. They are trying to do attrition with you on a nightly basis. Now, we obviously cannot continue in that state of affairs. So either we eliminate their ability one way or the other, that they stop doing it. How does then that reasonably happen, sir? Because obviously we can't do this 3 nights, 4 nights, 5 nights. Do they run out of munitions? Do eventually they get hit too many times that they simply stop? Or do we simply take out a large ability or their air defense systems that they are stuck repairing things for the next few months?
I'm not sure we can, dismantle their military machine totally. I mean, look at what's happening in Russia and Ukraine. Russia is an overwhelmingly large superpower, military superpower. And it's over 3 years now. By now, Ukraine should have been totally starved of everything, actually. But they're still being able to fight back with whatever means, whether they're being supplied by the West or by Europe or by the US or whatever. But the fact is they're still hanging in there in whatever manner.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Yeah, that was going to be my next question, because yes, it's a tragic circumstance that Ukrainians and Russians are both dying, and Ukrainians have faced a lot of civilian hardship due to what has happened, but their ability to fight is dependent upon their ability to receive monies and weapons from all over the world. So that's going to be my obvious next question. Does Pakistan have the ability to receive more monies? Because they've got a nice cool chunk, 2.3 billion yesterday. Okay, we all know where that money is going. It's not going to feed the orphans of Rawalpindi. It's going to feed the fat cats of Murid K. So let me put that question to General Chaturvedi. I'm being told is going to be joining us. General Chaturvedi, if you can hear me, let me put that question to you. Where does Pakistan now get its funding and its munitions from after they expend what they even currently have? In the medium term, even $2.3 billion doesn't count for much.
Actually, the status is, as on today, is that they have got first tranche of 1 billion yesterday and 1.4
Yes, forgive me.
is
Somebody in my PCA crew will sort that out, sir. Somebody just be alert, please, so that we can do this. Thank you. Yes, go ahead, General.
So that is one thing. Their source of ammunition, source of their armament are only two. One is China, other is Turkey. Azerbaijan doesn't count for much. And to my mind, it is Turkey and China. Now, with the kind of thing which is then done in North Arabian Sea, the kind of thing which has been done at 4 air bases, Turkey's capability to land is that much reduced. China, of course, still has got because of access from Xinjiang side. So therefore, whatever is coming to them from China. Now, China is not giving them the best of the best, because after all, they're equivalent to S-300 they gave in terms of HQ-16, but that has been destroyed by us. We have been able to do a very, very pinpoint targeting of all their assets. Their sustainability is quite questionable to my mind. It is not Ukraine versus Russian state, because Ukraine was a hell of a lot supported by US and Europe. No such benefactor is with Pakistan. So therefore, at some point in time, their capability to respond would be ebbed in next, to my mind, not more than a week they will be able to last.
Okay.
So that is
yes, it is logical to share your assessment that at this point of time, Turkish shipping and airlifting to Pakistan in large measures to actually make an air bridge. You'll need an air bridge with flights landing every hour to replace munitions which are being expended at the rate of 5 rounds per minute per gun on the LOC. So, simply sending 2 or 3 planes ain't going to hack it. That's just a couple of minutes of ammunition up and down the LOC, literally. So, Turkey, yes. But yes, do we now suspect that lorry loads from China are on the way and potentially ship loads are also on the way?
Yes, of course. But this is where two things have to be taken into account. One is the unstable state in Gilgit-Baltistan, because they will have to pass through Gilgit-Baltistan, which is in the range of our artillery. Secondly, the kind of thing which we can do it in Punjab, which we have shown, even China will not find it very easy to move that much of logistic support as they would have loved to do in this kind. Second thing is intent of China. Would China like to support as much as we think that they will be doing it? They have their own interest. They have will they like to antagonize India so much that India becomes, that LAC becomes volatile, so their interest in Taiwan is impacted? To my mind, no. They have got the trade, the economic equations with India. They cannot, in their state of economy, they cannot afford to lose that 100 billion surplus which they have with India. So therefore, China's response would be much muted than what we
China's diplomatic response has been rather muted. After the hugs and kisses, immediately after Pahalgam, when push has come to shove, they've actually come out and condemned terrorism. But yes, the Chinese can say something and do something completely the opposite. Are they making all possible efforts to ensure that the Pakistan state, its establishment, sustains? The Chinese love to cause damage without fighting a war. So they don't mind if the damage is caused by the Pakistanis to India as long as they are not in it. So will they probably enter the war? Probably not. Will they start firing on us? Probably not. But will they do everything possible to supply the Pakistanis? Probably yes. Let me get AVM Kak into this conversation. Emma Kak, in what is your assessment given what we have now seen in the second night, which obviously seems an escalation from night number one?
Yeah, clearly. I think it would have been foolhardy on our part to say that Pakistan would not continue to escalate up to a point and then go down the curve to de-escalate. And this process is important. I think you raised a very profound question at the beginning. It needs to be visited. The decision-making apex body in India, the Prime Minister met the Defense Minister, NSA, the chiefs only yesterday to take a review of the situation as to how to proceed further. I think you also made another very important point. What was our job? What was our objective? I think our objective has been met. Clearly, Prime Minister had said he will go after the terror infrastructure. Now we can delineate there, should we go against, to use Hindustani, Bandar ko target karna hai ke Madari ko target? Bandar being the elements which are terror infrastructure and Madari being the deep state of Pakistan. That part is a little problematic. I think both Commodore Singh and my other colleagues have said it, and I'm glad that has been said. The atmosphere within your studio, Newsx, and you as the Commander-in-Chief is quite different from what it was yesterday. Because I think today we are looking at it far more maturely, far more systematically, and far more analytically. The third point I wish to make, and I think this was made by you as also others, yes, China will play a game. China will say something, do something, but my own understanding as a result of participation both in the 65 and the 71 war is that China makes noises, but actually when it comes to the ground, it will not want this war to continue. You would have also noticed diplomatically, there's quite a difference between the Chinese position before Pahalgam and Chinese position post-Pahalgam. It is not talking, it's not giving an outright support to Pakistan. It's saying two neighbors are at war and we would like the situation to de-escalate. But for purposes of serving the psychological interests of the Pakistan army, it may well, Gilgit-Baltistan logistics line, they can well manage and control, and they can supply whatever is required to be supplied. As to the international community's pressure, the phones are burning. And I think that pressure is being put to Pakistan. The difficulty is that Pakistan army, for its own domestic constituencies, must not, in their view, be seen as having yielded to Indian grand strategy, which was to target the terror infrastructure, target the air defense system that's been publicly stated by the government, 4 target systems in Lahore, 1 of them destroyed, 3 probably neutralized. So also the barrage of unmanned vehicles and drones have now also been counterbalanced by the attacks which have recently been reported by the government on the emanating launch pads of those drones. That action is already
all right.
been taken.
But I have a quick follow-up question before the briefing begins, Air Marshal Kak, because some of these drones, we have been officially told this, and now we can visually see the remnants which are being found in the fields of Western India. These are really tiny, small drones, okay? Not very expensive, high-value drones. You know the kinds of drones that are being used in Ukraine are very small ones. They're very inexpensive. They cost only a couple of $1,000s. So then potentially you can have large amounts of them, and it is called you're harrying us, you're harassing us, and potentially this can go on for a long period of time. These drones can be procured in tens of thousands of quantities, and then remains a risk that while you're not causing any significant damage and we are countering them, but nonetheless there is an air raid siren, nonetheless there is tracer fire and interruption. So it could be a new stratagem. So how long can we sort of tolerate this, that okay, you keep doing this every night?
That's why, it is a politico-military and diplomatic response that we'll have to. I have my own sources, in fact, in some cases, my own relatives in Jammu have told me the kind of blackouts that have occurred and confirmed what you just said, Rishabh. These are tiny little drones. It's in the garden of somebody's house. And this has now reached a stage from not having boots on the ground both sides, having boots in the air both sides, and now harassment operations by Pakistan. We have to take this into our calculus. I'm sure a review yesterday would have brought this out very clearly.
Yes.
I can only second guess. And what would be our response? That's why the international community's role is extremely important, because they alone can sort of beat down the heads of the Pakistan army, particularly, that stop this. Otherwise, there could be escalation now from Indian side.
Okay, all right, okay. Just stay with me. General Chaturvedi wants to come in. Go ahead, sir.
What Marshal Kak said, very interesting thing. That to that, I would like to say that today I understand that Marco Rubio had a word with Asim Munir, which shows that they also realized that who caused the shot in Pakistan. Till yesterday, they were talking to NSA, to the Prime Minister, and all those things, but now they realize that it is only Asim Munir. My own sense is that terminal objective of India has to be to reduce the credibility of Pak army. And that can be done only in case if they are given a comprehensive beating on many grounds. Our aim should not be to capture any territory, rather degrade Pakistan army in many ways. And that is the best thing which we will be doing it.
Okay, fair enough. Commodore Singh, so then what of course we don't want to see is the Pakistanis, and it seems a stratagem, and we've learned these stratagems in the past 48 hours. We've learned that the time they open the civilian airspace is the time when they're undertaking a strike. Otherwise, the civilian airspace is closed the entire day, but they open it in the evening. They are hoping that we by mistake shoot down a civilian aircraft, and then that becomes an international scandal, and then that forces us to back off. So that's one stratagem. The other tactical stratagem seems to be that keep peppering us with insignificant drones that are not really meant to do anything. They're just meant to harass you, harass the local population, you know, like I said, cause the air raid sirens, cause a blackout, interrupt people's life. Now think about it. A blackout does not only mean only electricity. If the power grid is being switched off from behind, you know, your fridge goes off, your air conditioning unit goes off, you have a difficult night into millions of people. So it's a harassment operation. Now this harassment operation potentially with these small drones can go on for a period of time. You know, how do we manage a situation like this if this is what's happening?
No, I think sooner rather than later we will run out of patience if they try and continue with these sort of tactics for a long time. At the moment, it's just been 3 or 4 days, so it's not really. If most of the army experts on various channels have said that this is basically what they call a probing operation to see how robust are your air defenses. If they were tomorrow to launch an airstrike into India, what is the sort of response they would get? What is the sort of retaliatory Indian response from the air defense?
I'll interrupt you. The press briefing, the MOD press briefing is beginning. Let's listen in.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you to this press briefing by Foreign Secretary Shri Vikram Mishri on the ongoing developments around Operation Sindoor. We are also joined by Colonel Sophia Qureshi and Wing Commander Vyomika Singh for this briefing. With that, sir, the floor is over to you.
Thank you. Indeed, good morning. Namaskar. Sorry to keep you all waiting. जैसा कि हम पिछले 2-3 प्रेस ब्रीफिंग्स में भी बता चुके हैं, ये पाकिस्तानी गतिविधियां हैं पिछले 2-3 दिन से, जो एक एस्केलेटरी तौर पे देखी जा रही हैं और प्रोवोकेटिव तौर पे देखी जा रही हैं. It is Pakistani actions that have constituted provocation and escalation. In response, and I repeat, in response, India has defended and reacted in a responsible and measured fashion to these provocations and these escalations by the Pakistani side. Earlier this morning, we saw a repeat of this escalatory and provocative pattern, and I'll invite Colonel Sophia Qureshi and Wing Commander Vyomika Singh to update you on the developments since early this morning. Colonel Qureshi.
थैंक यू सर। नमस्कार। पाकिस्तान सेना ने पूरी पश्चिम मोर्चे पर लगातार आक्रामक गतिविधियां जारी रखी। उसमें यूकैव ड्रोन, लॉन्ग रेंज वेपन्स, लॉइटरिंग म्यूनिशंस और लड़ाकू विमानों का उपयोग कर भारतीय सैन्य ढांचे को निशाना बनाया। नियंत्रण रेखा पर भी ड्रोन घुसपैठ और भारी कैलिबर हथियारों से गोलाबारी की। अंतर्राष्ट्रीय सीमा और एलओसी पर श्रीनगर से नलिया तक 26 से अधिक स्थानों पर हवाई घुसपैठ के प्रयास किए गए। भारतीय सशस्त्र बलों ने अधिकांश खतरों को सफलतापूर्वक निष्क्रिय किया। फिर भी वायु सेना स्टेशनों पर उधमपुर, पठानकोट, आदमपुर और भुज बठिंडा स्टेशन, इन सब पर उपकरण व पर्सनल्स को हानि पहुंचाई। मैं ये भी बताना चाहती हूँ कि पाकिस्तान ने हाई स्पीड मिसाइल सुबह 1:40 पर इस्तेमाल करके पंजाब के एयरबेस स्टेशन को दागने की कोशिश की। एक निंदनीय और अनप्रोफेशनल एक्ट के तहत पाकिस्तान ने श्रीनगर, अवंतीपुर और उधमपुर के वायु सेना अड्डों पर चिकित्सा केंद्र और स्कूल परिसर को निशाना भी बनाया, जिससे उसके द्वारा सिविल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर पर हमला करने की गैर जिम्मेदाराना प्रवृत्ति फिर उजागर हुई। पाकिस्तान द्वारा सैन्य ठिकानों को जानबूझकर निशाना बनाने के पश्चात भारतीय सशस्त्र बलों ने त्वरित व सुनियोजित जवाबी हमले किए। टेक्निकल इंस्टॉलेशन, कमांड एंड कंट्रोल सेंटर्स, रडार साइट्स और हथियार भंडार को चुनकर निशाना बनाया गया। रफीकी, मुरीद, चकलाला, रहमियार खान, सुकूर और चुनिया स्थित पाक सैन्य ठिकानों पर एयर लॉन्च सटीक हथियारों व लड़ाकू जेट से प्रहार किए गए। पसरूर स्थित रडार साइट और सियालकोट का एविएशन बेस भी प्रिसीजन अम्यूनिशन से टारगेट किए गए। इन कार्रवाइयों के दौरान भारत ने कम से कम कोलैटरल डैमेज की क्षति सुनिश्चित की। चिंता का विषय यह रहा कि पाकिस्तान ने लाहौर से उड़ान भरने वाले नागरिक विमानों की आड़ लेकर अंतर्राष्ट्रीय हवाई मार्गों का दुरुपयोग किया ताकि वे अपनी गतिविधियां छिपा सके। ऐसी चालों ने भारतीय वायु प्रतिरक्षा तंत्र को नागरिक सुरक्षा सुनिश्चित करते हुए अत्यधिक संयम के साथ कार्य करने के लिए विवश किया। साथ ही साथ पाकिस्तान ने मिस इंफॉर्मेशन का सहारा लेते हुए आदमपुर स्थित S-400 प्रणाली, सूरतगढ़ व सिरसा के हवाई अड्डों, नगरोटा के ब्रह्मोस बेस, देहरागिरी के तोपखाना पोजीशन तथा चंडीगढ़ के अग्रिम गोला बारूद डिपो को नष्ट करने के झूठे दावे सोशल मीडिया पर फैलाए। भारत इन फॉल्स नैरेटिव्स को पूर्णतः खारिज करता है। नियंत्रण रेखा पर पाकिस्तान ने ड्रोन घुसपैठ और भारी तोपखाना गोलाबारी के कई प्रयास किए। कुपवाड़ा, बारामूला, पुंछ, राजौरी और अखनूर सेक्टर्स में तोप, मोर्टार एवं हल्के हथियारों से भीषण गोलाबारी जारी रही। भारतीय सेना ने प्रभावी व तुलनात्मक प्रत्युत्तर देते हुए पाक सेना को काफी क्षति पहुंचाई। पाकिस्तान सेना के अग्रिम क्षेत्रों में सैनिकों की डिप्लॉयमेंट बढ़ती दिख रही है, जो स्थिति को और भड़काने की मंशा दर्शाती है। भारतीय सशस्त्र बल पूर्ण परिचालन तत्परता की स्थिति में है। अभी तक सभी शत्रुतापूर्ण कार्रवाइयों का प्रभावी ढंग से सामना कर उपयुक्त जवाब दिया गया है। भारतीय सशस्त्र बल दोहराते हैं कि वे तनाव वृद्धि नहीं चाहते, बशर्ते पाकिस्तान भी ऐसा ही व्यवहार करे। आखिर में आपको कुछ वीडियो दिखाना चाहती हूँ जहां पर इंडियन आर्मी के वेपन्स एलओसी पर पाक के एसेट्स को ध्वस्त करते नजर आ रहे हैं। स्क्रीन में आप देख सकते हैं इस वीडियो को। धन्यवाद। जय हिंद।
Pakistan military continued with its provocations, carrying out aggressive actions employing multiple threat vectors all along the western border. Pakistan employed UCAV, drones, long-range weapons, loitering munitions, and fighter aircraft to target civilian areas and military infrastructure. Pakistan military also resorted to air intrusions using drones and firing of heavy caliber weapons along the line of control. Along the international border and the line of control, air intrusion and several harassment attacks were also attempted from Srinagar till Nalia at more than 26 locations. Indian Armed Forces successfully neutralized these threats and majority of the vectors. However, limited damage was sustained to equipment and personnel at Indian Air Force stations at Udhampur, Pathankot, Adampur and Bhuj. There were also several high-speed missile attacks noticed subsequently after 0140 hours in the night at several air bases in Punjab. In a deplorable cowardly act, targeting of civilian infrastructure also had taken place, where Pakistan attacked the Medicare Center and school premises at the air bases of Srinagar, Avantipur and Udhampur, yet again displaying irresponsible targeting of our civilian infrastructure. In a swift and calibrated response, Indian Armed Forces carried out precision attacks only on identified military targets. These included technical infrastructure, command and control centers, radar sites, and weapon storage areas. Pakistan military targets at Rafiqi, Murid, Chaklala, Rahim Yar Khan, Sukur, and Chunya were engaged using air-launched precision weapons from our fighter aircraft. Radar sites at Pasroor and Sialkot Aviation Base were also targeted using precision munitions. While carrying out these responses, India ensured minimum collateral damage. Pakistan has also attempted to execute a continued malicious misinformation campaign with claims of destruction of Indian S-400 system at Adampur, destruction of airfields at Suratgarh and Sirsa, BrahMos base at Nagrota, RT gun positions at Derangyari, and Chandigarh forward ammunition depot, with heavy damages to other military stations being propagated on social media. India unequivocally rejects these false narratives being spread by Pakistan. Along the line of control also, Pakistan has attempted multiple air intrusions using drones and conducted shelling using heavy caliber RT guns, targeting civilian infrastructure and killing some civilians. Heavy exchange of artillery mortars and small arms fire in Kupwara, Baramulla, Poonch, Rajouri and Aknoor sectors continued. Indian Army has responded effectively and proportionately, causing extensive damage to Pakistan Army. Pak military has been observed to be moving their troops into forward areas, indicating offensive intent to further escalate the situation. Indian Armed Forces remain in a high state of operational readiness. All hostile actions have been effectively countered and responded appropriately. Indian Armed Forces reiterate their commitment to non-escalation, provided it is reciprocated by the Pakistan military. At the end, I would also like to show you a few images of Air Force bases in the Punjab sector and Rajasthan sector, where it is mighty clear that we are debunking the Pakistani claims of causing destruction at these air bases. You can yourself see the normalcy in these air force stations. This is Sirsa. Suratgarh. The runways are intact. There are also time stamped. Just notice there are also time stamped. This is today. Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Colonel Qureshi. Thank you, Wing Commander Singh. I just have a few points to make in closing. First of all, as you have seen, Pakistani claims about activities that they have undertaken continue to be heavy on lies, misinformation, and propaganda. And on top of that, this is peddled by Pakistani state agencies. The claims that they have made about attacking and destroying various places, various military installations and facilities, as has been pointed out by my colleagues here this morning, are completely false. The claim about the Air Force station in Sirsa being destroyed, completely false, as you've seen. The claim about the Air Force station in Suratgarh being destroyed, completely false again, as you have seen. There's a claim that has been made that the S-400 base at Adampur was destroyed, completely false, once again. Claims have been made about large sections of Indian critical infrastructure, power systems, cyber systems, etc., being attacked and destroyed, completely false. I would urge all of you and all those who watch this not to be misled by this tissue of lies that is being peddled by the Pakistani state for obvious purposes. The second point that I wanted to emphasize is that Pakistan continues with its execrable and wanton campaign of targeting civilians and civilian infrastructure, especially in the states of Jammu and Kashmir and Punjab. There is also on its part a consistent attempt to sow discord between communities in India. As I said, there has been a particular focus in its targeting of civilian infrastructure and the population in Jammu and Kashmir and Punjab. Earlier this morning, Pakistan shelled the town of Rajouri, killing the additional District Development Commissioner, Sri Rajkumar Thappa, adding to the civilian casualties and the damage in that state. We have also observed overnight damage to property and injuries to civilians in Firozpur and Jalandhar, among other places. Finally, as I said, Pakistani officials also continue to make ludicrous claims about India firing missiles towards Sri Amritsar Sahib. As I said, these lame attempts to divide India are doomed to failure. We have also seen in some of the remarks that have been shown on television that the Pakistani army spokesman seems to take great joy at the fact that the Indian public should criticize the government of India with regard to various issues. It may be a surprise to Pakistan to see citizens criticizing their own government. That is the hallmark of an open and functioning democracy. Pakistan's unfamiliarity with that, again, should not be surprising. And finally, there is this yet again completely ludicrous claim that Indian missiles have hit Afghanistan. Totally frivolous allegation, and I only want to point out that Afghan people don't need to be reminded about which country it is that has on multiple occasions in just the last 1.5 years targeted civilian populations and civilian infrastructure in Afghanistan. Ladies and gentlemen, as you would have gathered from this morning's briefing, we are dealing with an evolving situation. Accordingly, today we don't have the time to take questions, but we will continue to update you on this situation as we go along. Thank you all very much for joining us this morning.
We are also joined by Colonel Sophia Qureshi and Wing Commander Vyomika Singh for this briefing. With that, sir, the floor is over to you.
Thank you. Indeed, good morning.
We have it now, confirmation of various things, and now let's pick up the conversation from what we have just been informed with. The confirmation, ladies and gentlemen, is that the escalatory ladder is as high as it possibly can get. Commander Bhushan with us, Wing Commander Sudhakaran with us, General Chaturvedi is with us, and Commodore Singh is also with us. Commodore, let me come to you immediately on the practicality of this matter. In fact, let me go to General Chaturvedi first. General Chaturvedi, so we have confirmation, sir, that Indian air bases at Udhampur, Pathankot, Adampur, Bhuj, Srinagar and Avantipur have now been targeted, including with Pakistani fighter jets.
Yes, which shows that, and also in this case, the important part is to be taken note of, is that Udhampur and I think Srinagar, they have shown that the medical facilities and school which are located in the premises of the Air Force station have been targeted. So this shows there are two, three things from this entire, which I am coming to realize, and my conclusions are like this, that A, Pakistan is trying to make this war as a war of deen. That is, we have destroyed their Markaz Subhanullah at Bahawalpur and Markaz Tayyiba at Muridke. So therefore, we have attempted to target their deen. So that is the one thing, which is to coalesce their own people, to get them together, to consolidate. Now, they are doing the same thing to us by destroying, firstly, in border areas, they are destroying churches, mosques, churches, mandirs, and gurdwaras to kind of within the Indian masses to create that wedge. They are trying to say that Indians have trying to target Harmandir Sahib. But if you just see their drones and all which are coming to Amritsar, they are not coming here to do any probing or something. They don't need. I think the target is Harmandir Sahib. So therefore, we need to be very, very careful about it, and everyone needs to see through their designs. Their very strong position on issues of misinformation is trying to suggest that they have had a good run on Indian Army, which again is disproved by this briefing very clearly.
Yes, but General Chaturvedi, let's listen. I mean, there is disinformation, which is not a surprise that the Pakistanis are setting out propaganda. I'm not surprised by it. You are not. I don't think anybody watching the broadcast anywhere in the world is surprised by it. But there is also a reality, and the reality is that we've just been confirmed that while our air bases remain intact and there's no large damage, we have suffered casualties in these air bases. So this is an all-out attack that has happened on our air bases. An attempt has been taken place I can only consider this a preemptive strike to take out or attempt to take out to some measure India's air capacity. So that's a reality. That's not propaganda. That has been attempted. Now the fact that the damage has been little, and of course in a remarkable situation, we have just been shown photographs of the air bases and the runways, which is highly unusual for a government or Indian Air Force to show you photographs and release it to the public that this is what the airstrip looks like as of this morning. But there is a reality check, and the reality is that's what they have done. They have targeted our air bases. They have managed to land some munitions and cause some casualties. What in itself does that indicate?
My sense is that it is a preemptive strike, and we need to respond as resolutely and as robustly as possible. And this gives us, now we have no compulsion just to remain defensive. We should go in a manner to destroy their facilities from where their air force can operate, from where their armed forces can operate. In this case, we have already done that, opening Salal Gate and all those things. That water which is going in the Chenab is trying to cause a kind of a problem for their armored formations located in near Sialkot, Kharia area and Chhamb
Yes,
area and
we've
all those
also
things.
been told that they have moved troops to forward areas.
Yes, so that is what I'm saying, that their armored formations will find it now difficult to cross Chenab so easily. So therefore, we have to be now proactive. Now we have no kind of a put any kind of a restriction on ourselves, because they have shown their cards that they are quite serious to cause damage. If they are serious to cause damage, we must respond as resolutely as possible. So now next step would be Indian armed forces need to respond to them in the
Okay, we
manner
have responded to them.
enemy formation.
We have hit sites in Rafiki, Murid, Chaklala, Rahim Yar Khan and Masroor and in Sialkot. In Masroor and Sialkot, we have targeted Pakistani radar stations. Military and Air Force sites have been targeted, as I mentioned, in Rafiki, Murid, Chaklala and Rahim Khan. We have confirmation that the Pakistani artillery shelling of high caliber, 155 mm howitzers, that's the highest caliber they've got, has hit Kupwara, Baramulla, Poonch, Rajouri and Akhnur. This is something, of course, we've known because all the people living there have been facing this. Now, at this point of time, General Chaturvedi, do we assume that tonight nothing is going to happen, or do we assume that they will attempt it again? Now, do we keep responding at certain stage? Do we simply keep responding that they hit us and then we hit them back?
No, now that stage is over. Firstly, I'm quite certain that their action tonight would be even more violent than what they were last night.
So what's left? I mean, this is only the Air Force and the Army left. They can't really launch a major naval operation against us at this point of time. They might attempt it.
Therefore, now onus is on us not to allow them to do that kind of a thing. The reactive mindset in which we have been working with a restrained manner, now time is over for that. Now we need to ensure that their capability to create that kind of a problem is degraded before even it is undertaken. So therefore, we need to start our own strategy to target them today. So therefore, this is I'm quite convinced.
You can argue it several ways. You can argue it that this is not a war that India wanted, but it is a war that India will have finished. Tactically, it would have been best to do this on night number one. If we wanted a war, we would have struck everything in one fell swoop on the first night, and that would have been the end of it. At least in terms of Pakistan. Could you take out most of their radar stations? Yes. Could you take out most of their SAM sites? Yes. Could you have significantly damaged or made inoperable a large number of their advanced air bases? The answer is yes. So you could have done it on day one. We didn't do it on day one. So there is now no element of surprise. But we have proven, General Chaturvedi, that we can get past their air defenses much better than they can get past ours. Now, we know that they can get past ours because they managed to cause some damage, but that damage has not been operationally significant to the least. And to prove it, we have actually released the photographs of the airstrips. It's unprecedented. I've never seen something like this, that the airstrips as they exist has been publicly released. Obviously, the Pakistanis will also be examining this if they have any brains, but to counter the misinformation, at least we put that out. But ladies and gentlemen, if they've used their fighter jets to target Indian infrastructure, which is either civilian or military, now what is left? The only thing is left is the Pakistani army to use. Now the question is, now do we wait for a Pakistani army attempted invasion, stall it, and then counter it? What do we do? It's a very difficult situation. It's an emerging situation, and it's a fluid situation. No questions taken in the press conference today. I'm assuming that a further update will come to us very, very shortly. Operational matters and what exactly India is doing, of course, is none of our business. We'll only find out once it's already done. Let me get Commander Bhushan into this conversation. Commander Bhushan Devan, so here you have it, sir. We have confirmation that yes, indeed, Pakistani Air Force jets were utilized, that they used missiles, high velocity missiles. that were used, which means I leave it for interpretation what a high velocity missile is, but that is an escalation, and they have managed to cause casualties in some of these air bases. Now, they are minor casualties, there is no operational impact whatsoever, but at what point of time do we be reactive? Is that point over?
Rishabh, it is always a pleasure to be interacting with you because of your deep background research and searching questions. To my mind, it is very clear when one says in the military, offense is best form of defense, that stage has come now. In fact, in hindsight, one feels bad that, as you rightly mentioned, on day one, this ought to have been done. I think trying to be a responsible nation and responsible armed force, we have carried this baggage too far and too long. Nobody has been left in doubt, India or the world, that what is Pakistan up to, what it is intending to do. I see another perspective to this, though this is not at tactical level or the forces level. The point is, what speech was made by Asif Modi a few days before the 22 April Pahalgam attack? What did he say? He said, Riyasat Medina, Riyasat Pakistan. To my mind, this is not a war of India and Pakistan alone. This is a war centered around the theme of Ghazwa Hind. This is a war centered around the Islamic terror, which is there trying to dominate the full world. Europe is rid with this problem and they are unable to get out of it. Trump has clearly said, my greater priority is not Russia-Ukraine war. My priority is to demolish Islamic terrorism as a currency of power in the world. As a currency of power in the world.
But forgive me, sir, forgive me for that. I think Donald Trump is currently irrelevant in the conversation after having signed a fat check to the Pakistanis via the IMF late last night. And if we are assuming that the Pakistanis are not considering this not only as a major relief, but as a major victory, then that will be naive of us. The Pakistanis needed this money, they've got the money, and it's been provided by the Americans.
But I think you might have heard the American senior official mentioning that, you know what, we have to have a balancing act. We means USA. Why? Because if the Pakistan is down in the dumps courtesy Indian aggression, then Pakistan will go closer to China. So they are walking a tightrope walk just because they have given money to them. It's like that, you know, Musharraf, good Taliban, bad Taliban, running with the rabbit, hunting with the hound. So that means, fine, they're trying to, you know, Sam, Dam, Dand, Bhed, they're trying to get close to Pakistan also. But that I'm quite certain, still USA wants the Islamic terror as if a currency should get extinguished in the world. And hence this India-Pakistan war.
No, I would humbly disagree, sir. I think as far as the Americans are still concerned, if it is terrorism targeting them is a separate matter, terrorism targeting somebody else is a separate matter. And I'm sorry to say, but I think they still draw the distinction. You and I might not want that distinction because you and I know that the terror networks are all the same. This ISIS, this Al-Qaeda, this LET, this Jaish, they're all the same. But the Americans still haven't understood the difference. So let's call a spade because the proof of the pudding is in the eating. The loan could have been deferred. It could have been deferred by a week. It could have been deferred by 2 weeks. A vote could have been deferred. Anything could have happened, but it wasn't. It was passed last night. It was passed, and immediately after Marco Rubio spoke with the Pakistani army chief. Now, I can assume that this would have been a demand on the Pakistanis that we need this money. So Marco Rubio would have told him, okay, we'll get you the money, but in return, you need to de-escalate. Well, they've taken the money and they have escalated further. That's the truth of what has happened. And let's face with what has happened. So if we are thinking that somebody else is going to deal with it for us, obviously not. We will have to fight our own battles both here and there. Stay with me. Megha, my colleague, is joining us. She's just attended the press briefing. Megha, brief one. Today, they've not taken any questions. Are we expecting, or is there any information you have that later in the day we're expecting another such update?
I mean, there could be all likelihood of fresh updates being given by the Ministry of Defense and the Ministry of External Affairs. Today's press conference was rather short. The points that had been raised by Wing Commander Vyomika Singh and We also had Colonel Qureshi who spoke in important points. Let's go through them point by point. And there is information, of course, we heard it, and I'm going to just reiterate for our viewers. There have been air intrusions, drones and heavy caliber weapons that were utilized by Pakistan, not just along the line of control, but at the international border as well. There were harassment attacks that were attempted, that were successfully intercepted. This happened not just in Jammu and Kashmir, particularly Srinagar last night, but also up onto the border state of Gujarat, which is the region Nalia in Gujarat. There were over 26 of these locations that have been attacked, but they have been successfully intercepted by the defense system of the Indian Armed Forces. But there's also information that there's been limited damage to Indian armed personnel. Udhampur, Pathankot and Adampur, which are in Punjab, Bhuj, which is in Gujarat, have been impacted by these drone attacks and high caliber missile attacks that had been launched by Pakistan. This happened at around 1:40 a.m. early morning today, wee hours of May 10th, which is today. The civilian infrastructure has been targeted. Pakistani army has attacked Medicare centers, a school, and the regions where these attacks have come are in Srinagar, in Avantipura, and in Udhampur in Jammu and Kashmir. There were precision attacks on military targets as well. We're getting to know that India has retaliated successfully. This is what has been said, that the tech infrastructure, command control centers, weapon storage areas in Pakistan have been attacked. There were reports, of course, misinformation from Pakistan side. There are a number of airstrips, number of air bases in India that were attacked. But India has gone on and reiterated that every single one of these attempts had been intercepted successfully. And in a countermeasure, India has launched precision munitions. India has ensured minimum collateral damage while carrying out that successful operation. Again, a misinformation campaign about the S-400 air defense systems being compromised in Adampur, in Punjab, in Surajgarh, and in Sirsa, and in Chandigarh. Ammunition depot has been attacked are all false. That was the statement that was given by the Foreign Secretary. And there have been multiple unsuccessful air intrusion attempts, not just on military infrastructure, but civilian infrastructure as well. There is information that is also coming that there's some civilians that have unfortunately died in the attack that was struck by Pakistan on India. This is in regions of Kupwara, in Baramulla, and in Akhnur as well. And the Pakistani military troops are continuing to move forward with their offensive intent, and the foreign secretary has said that India is going to take a measured, responsible action on all of these attacks. So that's the brief of the press conference that was held today. Unlike yesterday, questions were not taken. There are a lot of unanswered questions, especially in wake of Pakistan hinting at a nuclear threat, where the Pakistani planning minister coming out and saying that India should be wary of breaching the nuclear threshold.
No, I think at this point of time, Megha, it's Pakistan that needs to be wary of breaching because the escalation is what they're doing. Now, for anybody who's watching this telecast, the vast majority of you, if you are in India, you are thinking, why aren't we also escalating? Okay? That's what the first thought is coming to your mind, that if they're hitting our air bases, if they're causing civilian casualties, it's been confirmed that the additional district development commissioner in Rajouri has been killed in Pakistani shelling. We know that we've had army casualties on the LOC. We now know that we've had civilian casualties in Firozpur. We've also had civilian casualties in Jalandhar. The Firozpur casualties were reported, confirmed by the SSP last night, of 3 people who suffered serious burn injuries. So, if you're in India, you're wondering, what are you waiting for? And I can understand where that, as a human emotion, where it's coming from. Now, the larger question is, but if you are watching this anywhere else in the world, we could have done this on day one. We could have eliminated Pakistan's air fighting capabilities on day one. It was possible. We didn't do it because the target was the terror factory. Now, Pakistan has chosen a different route. So, let's face reality for what it is. Wing Commander Sudhakaran joining us on the broadcast. Sir, now the Saudis have sat in Delhi for a few days, gone to Rawalpindi for a couple of hours and gone home. The Americans have signed a $2.3 billion check to the Pakistanis, and Marco Rubio has spoken with Munir, but immediately post that conversation, Asif Munir has ordered airstrikes on Indian forward bases. So, I think that part of the conversation now is proven ineffective and not achieving anything. So, now it's up to us. At what point of time does now patience of just doing tit for tat run out?
Rishabh, it is already run out. Okay, let me put some context before I get into answer your question. First of all, it is not possible for us to take it day one out. I've been an AD guy. I know what assets Pakistan has, and Pakistan is not a Gaza, right? So let's not fool around, thinking that I would have taken it in day one. It is not possible. They have reasonable assets. Let's respect their assets for what they have. But, are they superior? No, definitely not. We will take them, but it is going to take time. See, mind you, in 1971, Sam Manekshaw took 6 months to prepare. But we gave them a bloody nose. We routed them and pulled their pants out. And we, inflicted a heavy defeat on them. Right? So let me keep that context by the side. Coming to the second part, if India as a superpower thinks that somebody else, there is a big daddy who's going to come and save us, let's get out of that thought itself. You have to start standing on your own legs. That's something that I've been telling, and India is capable of doing it. The first thing that is need for in principles of war that is taught to me in the academy is unity of command. For the first time in over 1,000 years, we have the kind of command that is actually required to undertake this kind of a mission. Maybe in 1971, yes, Indira Gandhi, I would say, for a brief period she had, but I wouldn't back that with the kind of vision, mission, resolve that Modi has. So I will bracket Modi in a very, because Indira Gandhi gave away 93,000 soldiers. I will never pardon her for that. She didn't take the prisoners of war back. So, keep that context by the side. Let's understand one thing. We're keeping on talking about this IMF. Please understand, Munir didn't decide this all alone. I repeat, Munir didn't do this alone. Munir had a backing. Munir was egged on. Please understand, this has been on the backdrop of the American tariff war. There was a deep state which was deeply riled and taken head on by Trump. They needed this, probably somebody needed this war. Munir definitely is a face. Now, let me get you a background. The real war behind the smoke, narrative, deception, and duty. This war didn't start at the line of control, Rishabh. It began in the mind of a jihadi general, Asif Munir, whose cowardice hides behind the veil of technological extremism. Cloaking his failures under the false banner of, saying Kashmir is the jugular vein, he reignited an old lie that Muslims are radically and racially different from Hindus. It was not a military doctrine, but a civilizational provocation, a desperate narrative meant to inflame, divide, and justify terror under the guise of identity. Today, as the war escalates, the Pakistani establishment pivots again, now shifting the rhetoric from territory to religion. This isn't merely a regional conflict. It's an engineered polarization designed to rally the entire Islamic world behind Pakistan and, using the false victimhood and manipulated grievance. They deliberately are targeting temples. They're deliberately targeting gurudwaras. And see the name of the operation that they have given. Bunyan ul Marsus. What does it mean? It has got a lot of religious significance. And they are matching it against Op Sindoor. It is as simple as that. They are trying to rally the entire Islamic fraternity behind them,
all right.
and they are trying to
Okay,
polarize.
so we can be reasonably assured that while we also have to realize that if you're in it, you have to be very clear what you're in it for. You have to have clear war aims. You have to have clear war goals. There is a lot of lessons from the past. And while, yes, the Americans are not to be trusted because they've given the check at the IMF, and that's America. Don't go IMF. America controls the IMF. Okay. But 50 years ago, the Americans were deploying aircraft carriers supporting Pakistan. That's not happening. Okay. If the Pakistanis thought the Chinese were coming to open a second front, that doesn't seem likely at this stage. Can't rule it out, but doesn't seem likely at this stage. So, if Pakistan was hoping that the Saudis would come to their assistance, they're not going to come to their assistance. Okay. Other than Turkey and China to even resupply them, they don't have much else. The Americans are not going to send munitions to Pakistan. They'll give them the money. So they have plenty of frustrations far worse than ours because they have a limited capacity to wage a long-term war. That's just the truth. Okay, now whether that is 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months is open to conversation. Okay, they have limited capacity to resupply. Anything that extends in a duration, we win. But I need to put out a sobering thought. We are in an undeclared war now. That's what it is. And when you're at war, there is going to be damage, there are going to be casualties, because that's what a war is. We lost 3,500 troops to reclaim the heights in Kargil. So it's not going to be a one-way street. Let's not assume that for a second. There is going to be a few long nights ahead of us, and we have to just accept that reality. I am accepting it, and I implore all of you to accept the reality. A miracle in 24 hours or 2 days is not going to happen. Pakistan has limited war fighting capacity. We have now proven that our air defense, our anti-drone nets, our anti-missile nets are far more effective. There's nothing cent percent, but are far more effective than the Pakistanis. They know it and we know it. But does that mean they won't get something through? At some point of time they will. Okay. On your screens, ladies and gentlemen, let me zoom in so you get a better understanding. This is what we have been officially told. I don't need this band at the top of the screen. Let's put this up full so our viewers can watch this. This is the state of affairs as was in the intervening night of May 9 and May 10th. Marked in green are the Pakistani establishment, including air bases that have been targeted by India. This is Rahim Yar Khan, which is just northwest of Rajasthan. This is not required. What you were doing just fine. You're over processing. Yes, what you were doing just fine. Rahim Yar Khan in Rafiki, in Murid and in Chaklala. So marked in green, which is here, Chaklala, Murid, Rafiki and Rahim Yar Khan. These have been engaged by the Indian Armed Forces. In Sialkot, in what is called the Sialkot salient, this is the crucial salient, ladies and gentlemen, because this is the finger that Pakistan has that is nearest poking into Udhampur and Pathankot. Pathankot, of course, being crucial because that controls your access, physical road access to the north into Kashmir. So we have taken on Pakistan air defense assets in Sialkot and in Masroor. In Sialkot, we've been told we have eliminated their air recon facilities. I'm assuming that's radar stations. Now, what you're seeing in the yellow ladies and gentlemen, is where the maximum amount of artillery engagement has taken place. In Rajouri, in Poonch, in Kupwara, Baramulla, and in Akhnur. What you're seeing in the white, these are the Indian bases that Pakistan has attempted to attack yesterday. While the bases are fully operational, there is no significant operational damage. In some places there have been casualties and some minor damage, including to civilian structures, schools that are part of these bases has happened. Srinagar, Avantipora, Udhampur, Pathankot and Adampur. Now this is what you got in the briefing. This is what they have done in terms of attacks to Indian bases, cross-border firing and the counter attacks that we have taken. However, Pakistan drone and missile hits, attempted targeting has happened all the way down to Gujarat. And we'll tabulate that for you very, very shortly. Major Shah joining us this morning. Now, Major Shah, here we are. Okay. The Pakistani Air Force has been used last night. That's been confirmed to us. This is no longer just drones and missiles. And they've targeted our air bases. While they've not caused any significant operational damage, they have managed to cause casualties. We are facing casualties on the LOC. Let's accept it. That's what it is. And the vast majority of those casualties right now are civilian casualties. Now, do we maintain the tone and tenor and say, all right, we will be reactive. When they hit us, we will hit us back. And how long do we do this before our patience runs out?
Right, Rishabh. Rishabh, before I answer your question, I would just give me 30 seconds to firstly compliment, acknowledge and recognize the hard work being put by the team of ITV Network, Newsx and India News. I am personally witness to it. Last 2 nights continuously we haven't slept. I have been with you in your studios, your guest coordinators, your team, your anchors. I think the work they're doing is no less than the work of a soldier, Rishabh. Having said that, now I'm coming to your question. Rishabh, it is firstly, it's not just sad, it is disheartening to see Donald Trump sign that check for Pakistan. IMF giving the money. Now, if you analyze it correctly, Pakistan always very confident, despite being the beggar that they are. They were, despite being broke, rather I would use the word, okay. But they are very confident. They would still try to provoke us, give a time. And people used to ask me, anchors on television have asked me, unko itni himmat aati kahan se hai? They don't have money. That means somewhere at the back of their mind, they knew they would be getting a large chunk of money from the US. Right now, they are broke, yes, but they were always, that thing was there in the back of their mind. That's what was giving them the confidence. Now, as far as General Asim Munir is concerned, he is definitely, I have no doubt about the fact, and nobody will have, he is trying to play the religious card. Like the way General Ziaul Haq did. He's doing exactly that. They say history repeats itself. But the golden question is, are there people, civilians, who are willing to follow what this person who's not fit to be a Jawan in the army, how he got commissioned with that mindset and became a chief.
But Major Shah, you'd think that the Pakistani people would have given up on the Pakistani army after an unconditional surrender at Dhaka. But they didn't, did they? Okay, I think it was Zulfikar Ali Bhutto who went to the gallows 5 or 6 years later, hung by the Pakistani army. So, if we are hoping that don't worry, in a couple of days, Munir will be sacked. Somebody was saying 2 days ago, no, that he's been arrested, he's gone into hiding. Let's not also be as naively out of touch as the Pakistanis think we are. That's not true. His position is now strengthened. That's the truth.
His position, that's the truth. Yes,
his position is strengthened. In fact, just last night, the Pakistani Supreme Court has given Asif Munir the powers to try civilians in military courts.
Right.
Okay.
So his
Which
position
means that if today you stand up and protest or even talk against the Pakistani army, you can be hauled up before a military court and you can be shot. That's what that means. That's a suspension of that is in effect a suspension of civil rights in Pakistan. You can't go appeal it. You can't go to the Supreme Court of Pakistan to appeal a military court decision. Okay. So let's call a spade for what is a spade. Let me just get an alternate perspective to just give us an understanding of how this is being perceived. Dr. Satoru Nagao joining us on the broadcast. Dr. Nagao, appreciate your time. How are you observing now the rapidly escalating developments now that it has been confirmed that the Pakistani Air Force has been deployed to target Indian forward air bases late last night?
Yes, Pakistan's a little bit irresponsible activity is not welcome for anyone in the world. But at the same time, India's responsible reaction contributes a lot in this case because there are the 3 steps before the nuclear war. First one is special force assault against terrorist camp. Second one is airstrike deep inside against Pakistan, especially of course the terrorist camp. And third one is limited war. So when we check these 3 escalation ladder, India maintained the ladder in the airstrike level. So that's why this is airstrike versus airstrike, and this is responsible way to maintain this, not escalate to the nuclear war. So that's why we can say this is, India's responsible activity against terrorists. And in this case, India is seeking 3 achievements in my analysis. First one is military, second one is foreign policy related, and third one is internal policy related. In this, Modi has a very high skill to deal with when we check the Barakot strike in 2019. Because militarily that time eliminate terrorist camp that has achieved. And secondly, the foreign policy, America supports India, other countries support India's right of the self-defense. And thirdly, the internal politics, of course, he won the election. So that's why all of these 3 he has done. So he has the skill to manage the situation. So that's why the view from his experience, view from India's responsible activity, India is in this process to win this battle, I believe. So that's why indeed there is no fear. India's bold step and careful step and sophisticated skill achieve something in the near future. Thank you.
Dr. Nagao, late last evening here in India, we've been informed as a people after having witnessed 26 of our civilian citizens who were out on a picnic, who were asked their religion, were made to take off their clothes so that they could be checked for circumcision, then were shot in the head, and their wives were told to go tell Modi. After having witnessed this, we have also witnessed the International Monetary Fund, which is a Bretton Woods institution where the large preponderance of the votes lie with the United States of America, which is supposed to be a Quad partner of India. We have witnessed this IMF grant a $2.3 billion credit facility to the Pakistani state. Now, it is not a strange assessment for us to make that very little of those monies will be going to the orphans of Rawalpindi, but would in fact be diverted to the Pakistan war machine to target India, or even to terrorists. Now, given the fact that many of us are troubled with this decision, what does that tell us about global international priorities on terrorism?
Recently, there are plenty of the news related to the foreign policy related. So that's why the foreign media cannot share the long time about the India-Pakistan battle. That's true. So that's why sometimes the bureaucratic work makes something the bad timing support to the Pakistan's economy. But at the same time, the INS funding or other foreign funding is checking how to use. So that's why Pakistan cannot divert this money to buy the military equipment so easily, I believe. But at the same time, this is bad timing. The IMF and other the international organization or foreign country should not do that. This is bad timing. So that and at the same time, we need to remember the one thing. Ukraine Pakistan do not have enough ammunition because they have already sold some ammunition to Ukraine or others, and so stock is limited. And especially the drone or missiles, limited number. So that's why, indeed, in the long run, Pakistan cannot fire. If they get the money, but the money is not a missile, they need to produce a missile by using the money, but process demands a relatively long time. So that's why just now this money is not a threat against India.
Okay.
The threat is ammunition.
Okay. So, Pakistan can reliably be supplied currently by two countries, Turkey and China. And we have to address this because while the Chinese are not taking any known activity along the India-China border at this stage, that might change, I don't know. But a resupply of Pakistan might be attempted by the Chinese. How would you observe if the Chinese provide the artillery shells for the Pakistanis to wage war against India?
Indeed, China do not want escalation, I believe, because they want to concentrate the issue related to the United States. But at the same time, the Pakistan's irresponsible behavior and they try to escalate the situation is bad news for anyone in the world. And in this case, of course, Pakistan is ally of China, so there is a possibility that this situation demands China to support Pakistan. But at the same time, indeed, anyone in the world, including India, do not want the escalation because this is risky. So Pakistan should restrain their activity in this case. And so do not create something tragic news or do not create something. And what Pakistan can do is indeed very limited because they try to show something fireworks, but militarily they hasn't achieved anything yet. So that's why indeed what Pakistan is doing is something that show not a real military threat against India. India is far stronger than Pakistan. So Pakistan's activity, indeed, what they can do is very limited, I think.
Okay. My final question to you, Dr. Nagao, is on Turkey. Now, Turkey is a NATO member country. It is actively supplying munitions to Pakistan. We know 3 Turkish planes landed in Pakistan last week. A Turkish ship docked in Pakistan just a few days ago. And we have now confirmed, because these are in our possession, that Turkish made drones have been primarily used by the Pakistanis in their attempted attacks on Indian targets. Now, how do you observe the role of Turkey in this?
Yeah, Turkey must not help Pakistan to escalate the situation. Because anyone in the world do not wish the escalation in this region. This is a nuclear powers battle. So that's why responsible behavior is needed. And what India has done is quite responsible, I think. So that's why Pakistan should follow. So under such kind of situation, if Turkey support the escalating move of the Pakistan, that is not good news for anyone in the world. So that's why not
right.
support Pakistan. It should not support.
Okay, appreciate your thoughts, Dr. Saturu Nakal. Just stay with me for a second. Let's open up this conversation to wider discourse and get perspectives as many as we can. Lieutenant General Kamal Davar joining us on the broadcast. Group Captain V.N. Jha is with us, and Sanjeev Srivastav is back with us on the broadcast as well. Wing Commander Sudhakan stays with us, and I see a few others. I'll come to you one by one. General Davar, it's been a tough couple of nights for a generation of people who have not experienced this and air raid warnings and constant harrying attacks. What do you assess of the situation as it stands now?
I think the situation is getting clearer by the day because we have been making statements as usual, very lofty, very noble, that everything, we are just sorting out terrorism and exported from Pakistan. And our overall approach is going to be non-escalatory. We will not hit any civil targets, not even hit military targets earlier. Now I'm glad we have shifted to military targets also, but our overall approach has been non-escalatory, whereas the Pakistani approach has been clearly escalatory. And what surprises me, or really doesn't surprise me, is some of the, or rather the attitude of some of our friends. Now you take the United States. One of the main planks of President Trump before he became the president was to eliminate Islamic terrorism from the rest of the world. Fine. Now what is happening is that he, the other day, makes a statement that both countries are our friends and that's about all. His vice president says that this is not a conflict we are going to get into. So the point is, as you said in one of your earlier channel discussions, that every country has to look after its own interests and we should not expect anything from anyone. Whereas India always goes out because, we are statesman-like, we are a little lofty in our approach, we have morality on our side and things like that, because we are made like that, ancient civilization that we are. But I'm afraid the Pakistanis and General Asim Munir is really going out, is getting mad to an extent, the so-called jihadi general, and he's going to take his country to ruin. And this is all for his own personal ambitions and not for the good of Pakistan. They are in absolute, dire straits economically, notwithstanding the $1 billion from the IMF, which the Americans would have ensured that he gets it without getting anything in return. Why couldn't they have also told old General Munir that, look, old boy, we'll get you your $1 billion since you are absolutely got a begging bowl in your hand, but for God's sake, don't escalate, because you both are nuclear powers and you have big populations and anything can get out of hand, these things. So I would say that at the moment, things are they're not looking good, and there is bound to be escalation, and we better be prepared for it militarily and otherwise.
Okay, just stay with me, General Davar. I want to absorb some breaking developments that are flashing on your screens, and I've just been informed that a press release has been put out by the U.S. Secretary of State's office from the U.S. Department of State. There has been a further phone call between Marco Rubio and External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar. Let me read the statement as it is. Secretary of State Marco Rubio spoke with Indian External Affairs Minister Subramaniam Jaishankar. Secretary Rubio emphasized that both sides need to identify methods to de-escalate and re-establish direct communication to avoid miscalculation. He further proposed U.S. support in facilitating productive discussions to avert future disputes. Now, that's what he said. There is a further response that has come to this from the Indian Ministry of External Affairs. This is from Dr. Jaishankar's office, and he says, and I quote, "Had a conversation with U.S. Secretary of State Rubio this morning. India's approach has always been measured and responsible and remains so," unquote. Now, General Davar, at what point of time, because we are now understanding the kind of tactics the Pakistanis are employing. the Pakistani airspace as we speak is closed. There are no civilian aircraft in the sky. The civilian aircraft are put into the sky immediately before they begin their air incursions. Now, what they're hoping, of course, is that by error, shoot down a civilian aircraft flying in Lahore, right next to the India-Pakistan border where all of this is happening. We also know that they're using very, very tiny drones in the most part. Small drones are being sent, and every time a small drone comes, the result, of course, is that there is an air raid warning, and entire population of a city, which is millions of people, their electricity is shut off, they are hunkering down. Electricity shut off does not only mean lights, it means if the power grid is switched off from behind, people don't have a fridge that's working, they don't have a fan that's working necessarily. And that is going to cause harassment of civilians. So that's what they want. Small drones cost a few thousand rupees, irrelevant, but they cause harassment. So now that we are understanding what they're doing, what can we really do about it?
Look, you have to take your air defense precautions very seriously. Whether it's a small drone or a medium size or a big drone or there's a intruding aircraft, you have to get it on your radar, fix your AD guns and bring it down. There is no other way. You cannot distinguish or differentiate between a drone and an aircraft or intruding aircraft. You have to bring it down, and I'm sure we have caused a fair number of casualties to the Pakistani Air Force and to the Pakistani forces who have been trying to send drones or intruding aircraft and so on and so forth. So this part is part of SOPs. And as far as the public is concerned, of course, it will cause them a lot of inconvenience, but this is part of it. If we are at war, then the whole country is at war, and everybody has to pay as this plays part. If the administration has said you switch off lights from such and such to such and such time, then we do it. Simple as that. And we have done it earlier also, maybe after many years that we are doing it again. So there's not much sweat involved in all this.
Okay, I have a follow-up question, sir. We were responding to Pahalgam, where 26 people were shot in the head. We all know what that was. So we took out what was well known. Murid K is well known, Bahawalpur, these are all well known. Everybody knows them. Documentaries are made about them. Books have been written about them, about who operates what in Murid K. When we say terror camp, in the public imagination, you still think that there are two tamboos and a tent and a latrine somewhere deep in the forest. No, these are huge establishment. Murid Ke 86 acres, they've got fields, they've got training grounds, they've got barracks, they've got mess facilities. I mean, it's not a compound, it's a full mini city that operates. Now, that was the initial war aim, that you will deal some blow, hopefully take out some high value targets in places where they did not expect to be struck. Now, that was on day one. What now becomes, or should reasonably become, an updated war aim? What are we doing this for now?
As you rightly alluded to, day one was because India didn't want an escalatory approach for the simple reason that we said that we are only going in for terror infrastructure, no civilians, and we even ruled out military infrastructure and military assets of the enemy. But now that the Pakistanis are refusing to listen, they are on the path to totally escalate. And we still are using the word de-escalation and non-escalatory and things like that.
Okay.
For us, it's...
I beg your indulgence for this interruption. I've got breaking news coming in, being reported from Jammu, where explosions as we speak are being heard. I'm being told that countermeasures are now being deployed over the city of Jammu. My colleague Ajay Jandiyal joining us on the broadcast. He has lived in Jammu his entire life. Ajay, what is going on?
Rishabh, yes, anti-defense system is activated, and about 3-4 explosion took place right over the sky in the Jammu city, and definitely followed by the siren, raid siren was started. So immediately people, those who were out on the road, they started moving inside the buildings because that is the SOP that they have to follow.
Okay, well, SOPs are currently being followed. What are you hearing around you? Is there still shelling going on?
Four, back-to-back explosion took place, and then we also moved inside, and now no firing, but siren is still, can be heard. So it seems that this air raid siren possibly is indicating that Pakistan once again have started, something drones or something over here. Because what I have seen today while covering the ground situation, that Pakistan especially have targeted number of civilian areas, and 250 launcher rockets as well as missiles are used to attack the civilian areas, in which minimum two people have died. In Jammu city only about 15 people are injured, whereas in Rajouri 3 people died and 7 are injured. So this is what exactly has happened in the house, which are devastated, that is vulnerable.
Okay, so if you are in Jammu city right now, please be warned that there are reported explosions that are happening at this point of time. Ajay Jandial has told you that in Jammu city, 2 people are now confirmed dead, and these are all civilians, because civilian residential areas are being targeted not only by drones, but he is saying that to some extent mortar firing has also been spotted being aimed in that general direction. General Dawar, sorry to have interrupted you, but this is now happening in broad daylight, and these are cities full of people. We don't have any terror camps here in India. It's either a military installation or it's just people going about their daily lives. Now they're doing it not at a particular time, not at a particular wave, doing it in broad daylight. So what then becomes our updated war aim?
Cabinet Committee on Security, the service chiefs, the CDS, and are all in a huddle many times over the last few days, presided over by the Prime Minister and the Defense Minister and all that. So they would have carried out a fair amount of contingency planning. If this happens, what do we do? If this happens, what do we do? So all that, I'm sure, would have been discussed threadbare, and I'm sure they'll take a very wise decision in the honor and the safety of the country. Having said that, I think as far as my views are concerned, as an old veteran, is that the Pakistanis are refusing to learn or listen, especially led by their jihadi general, who is going to take their country to doom, take it from me, the way he's going. India also now must retaliate. Forget about this non-escalation factor and all that, must retaliate in full form. I don't think that people say we are not at war and all that. Somebody says we are at an undeclared war. I'm afraid this is war. What else is war? When you are targeting not only the military assets of a country against you, you're also targeting, civilians. So this is war. So now we might as well gird up our loins and take the Pakistanis head on and teach them a lesson on behalf of the entire humanity, that terrorism is the scourge of the world and not only of ours. So we all must get together and eliminate terrorism. And for that, we must have a diplomatic blitzkrieg, and I'm sure the External Affairs Minister would be speaking to his counterparts all over the world, and so should our worthy Prime Minister. He should also speak to people, the heads of state, and tell them, look, rein in Pakistan before it gets off the map of the world.
Okay, it's unprecedented in my lifetime. Okay, General Dawar has, of course, seen this all before, but not even in Kargil, in which we lost 3,500 troops, did something like this happen. Jim Rice joining us on the broadcast. He's a professor of international law. Professor Rice, what is actually being reported that you're being able to read on what the situation on the India-Pakistan border is right now, that you've been made familiar with from what you've read in the press?
Again, thanks for having me on. Again, the situation is very fluid. It's moving very rapidly. I would agree with the former speaker, the Lieutenant General. I think that he's making good sense. in terms of the most recent developments, I'm doing my best to follow the events as I can. However, I do know that the origins of this crisis begin, as the Lieutenant General alluded, to an unprovoked terrorist attack on civilians in Kashmir. The response by the Indian government was right and proper. They waited, they exercised restraint, they discovered the facts, and then they responded by attacking in a proportioned and limited way terrorist camps within Pakistan. And the response by the Pakistan military was to attack the Indian military, which was the escalation in this. And then subsequently the Indian military responded by countering with Pakistan air bases, and now we're in the situation that we find ourselves. So again, I can't fully answer your question because I'm struggling to apprise myself of the facts hour by hour.
All right. So so are we, sir, because as you said, the situation is fluid, and of course, because of operational constraints, we are in an information vacuum. But we can tell you what we can see and hear, and there are more than 100 million people who live in India's border cities. For the past 2 nights, they've been under what we have not seen in 50 years, under air raid sirens, under blackouts. They've been seeing anti-aircraft fire, tracer bullets, explosions, unprecedented artillery shelling, and people are dying. We've lost people in the armed forces, and we've lost, at this count, 30 civilians over the course of the last couple of days. Churches have been hit, temples of worship have been hit, students have been killed, their parents have been injured, people have been burnt beyond recognition with explosive munitions that are taking place. And the reason I say undeclared is because nobody's declared war, but yeah, as General Dawar put it, we are at war. This is what is going on here. Now, we are finding it difficult to digest at this point of time, and you'll forgive me for saying so, that a few hours ago, the International Monetary Fund, which is a Bretton Woods institution, has granted a line of credit of $2.3 billion to Pakistan in the middle of all this. And we know that the US has the preponderance of vote share at the International Monetary Fund, which, as I mentioned, being a Bretton Woods institution, is controlled by the powers as was in 1945. Now, this is being perceived here in India that large parts of the monies may not go to feed the orphans of Rawalpindi, but might actually be diverted to wage war against India. And this is being looked at very strangely. Why would such an action, in your view, still happen? Have we not yet understood the war on terror fully?
Sorry, is that question for me?
Yes, Mr. Rice.
Again, my apologies. I'm just learning this information about the IMF funding as you mentioned it. I'm going to have to, go back. If this is true, this is definitely of concern to everyone. Again, I just learned this from your own reporting.
Okay, is there? Are we still disconnected, sir, in the war on terror? And I've spoken to a few people from the US in the past few days, and I put this question to them, and they said, look, if we still can't convince ourselves that Hamas and Hezbollah are terrorists, and it'll be very difficult to convince some people that LET and Hizbul and Lashkar and these are terrorists. So I empathize with that corollary. But where have we lost the plot on understanding that Osama bin Laden was found in Pakistan? He was hunted down by SEAL teams, sent in, violating Pakistani territorial integrity and airspace. They landed on the ground, they shot him, they put his body on a chopper, they packed up his stuff and pulled him out. And that was under Barack Obama's administration. Are we still not being able to understand, even after that Pakistan harbors terrorists or in fact even promotes them?
Again, still me?
Yes, Mr. Rice, yes.
Okay. Well, again, thanks for that excellent question. I concur with your views in this regard. I think that the significant thing to me is that the Pakistan government didn't immediately condemn, denounce, and take actions against those terrorist camps within their own country.
All right, stay with me. As we speak, Ajay Jandial, my colleague, is back with us. I've just been informed that another Sikh place of worship in Poonch, a Gurdwara, has been hit by Pakistani shelling. Ajay, what information can you share with us?
Yes, continuous the shelling is going on from the Pakistan side, and continuously Pakistan is trying to target the civilian area and deep inside the Poonch district, which is about 10 to 12 kilometers away. Now, fresh input says that another, Sikh shrine is being targeted from the Pakistan side in the shelling, fresh shelling on the line of control. And this is not the one incident. Even today morning, one Hindu shrine, Shambhu temple, was also targeted. Pakistan have attempted a failed. They have tried a failed attempt in outer Jammu city in Shambhu temple as well. So this is what exactly happening, and this seems to be the intentional move, because these shrines are having a Google location everywhere available on the internet as well. So they might be choosing that location to target it, because what they have done with the tourists who were targeted in the Pahalgam, what they have done with there in the Dangri when 9 Hindu family members were killed. So it seems that they want to basically create communal tension among the people in the Jammu and Kashmir, and also they are targeting civilians on different locations of the Jammu and Kashmir.
Okay, well, there you see, you can see it on your screens. Now, given Mr. Rice, what has happened in the terror attack, and we can be smart enough to understand the machination behind it. It was a communal crime. Hindus especially were picked out. They were disrobed to check if they had been circumcised before being shot in the head. So it was clearly communal. Now we have seen in Kashmir, 2 churches have been hit. We've seen 2 places of worship for the Sikh religion, which are Gurdwaras, have been hit, and some of the people who were the religious leaders have unfortunately now died in the shelling that has taken place. Now, I can understand the machination behind this, but it brings us back to the point that this is not terrorists per se who are doing this. This is the Pakistani army that is doing this. They are the ones who are targeting these religious sites, including the churches. What they want is for our communities to turn against each other, which is not happening. At what point of time, in your opinion, does that line get blurred after having witnessed this for several decades between the Pakistani state and the terrorists within Pakistan?
Well, again, we can go back. We can go back to the post 9/11, the post 2001 period, and then, of course, I'm recalling the Mumbai attacks, which, if my memory serves me correct, were in 2003. And again, the Indian nation has been subjected to terrorist attacks again and again during this time, and I think it's finally come to a head at this point. I think it's important, though, for the Indian military establishment to continue to attack only military facilities in Pakistan and to maintain the moral high ground in this conflict.
Okay, well, appreciate your time and your thoughts. While this is not your area of specialization, but as a human being observing global events in a difficult time in this part of the world, appreciate you joining us with your thoughts. Thank you very much, Mr. Jim Rice, joining us. He is an international professor of law. Let me get in Group Captain Jha. Group Captain Jha, we are having a continuous conversation now, and you've been able to now digest the latest, which all but confirms to us that we are now we are at war. Okay, they are targeting our cities all over from Gujarat to Kashmir. They have targeted our air bases. While they haven't caused any operational damage, we have casualties. Civilians are dying. We are hitting back also. Now, in between, the Americans have given a big fat IMF loan to the Pakistanis. Does this still look like that it ends overnight, that eventually the Pakistanis just stop?
every event that is happening, it's slightly baffling to most of us, ex-defense people. You are calling that we have digested. Rishabh, you remember day 4 yesterday evening when I interacted? That day itself, I told you that the amount of attack, the intensity of attack that was happening not along the border, but deep within the Indian territory, Pakistani, drones, missiles, all these were coming. What was it? Wasn't the act of offense or the war against Indian state? And this was not only happening in the Jammu and Kashmir, the entire stretch of the international border. Wasn't this war? I told you that day itself, this is war. And this has started that evening. No, earlier we acknowledged that we are at war. I think better it is. I was listening very carefully the words of General who was speaking earlier. Look, Indian government must have made some contingency plan how to respond to it. But that very fact is difficult for me to digest as a military person, as a military strategist, or who thinks about the military action, military doctrine, that why should we only respond? We should make Pakistan to respond. We should, anyone, you talk to any US military person, they will tell you the first doctrine is make the enemy go on defensive. Right now, we are on defensive. We are trying to give a reply. Rishabh, this is not the way how it should be there. We have got a fairly credible air defense system. The spokesperson who gave a briefing today, she mentioned that most of those drones were shot down. But what about the ones which were not shot down? Even USA was attacked. USA had been having a very credible air defense system. No one could penetrate. But 9/11 happened.
Okay. I'm sorry to interrupt you, sir. I have breaking developments coming in. What you're watching on your screens have been released by the Indian Army. These are visuals of the past 24 hours. Let's blow them up on our screens. Let's put them full on our screens. This is the counter engagement that has taken place, what seems to be on the line of control. You can see this has happened at 7:30 on the 9th. You can see heavy what looks to be like rocket attacks that have happened in shelling that are targeting established Pakistani locations. You can see them being pulverized and blown up. Have a look at this. That's definitely a rocket launcher that is being utilized, and a rocket launcher from inside a bunker, mortar launchers that are being utilized. And this is the end result of what they're targeting. That's a mortar shell, that's a rocket launch, and then you'll see that's yet another one, and you can see what they're targeting. Here's another one. Two rapid targets. Here's another one that has happened, and see as it traces into what would look like a structure on the other side of the LOC. That's the mortar launching that is going on. So this visual is showing you from early yesterday morning. So it's deferred by 24 hours. The rocket strikes that have happened into Pakistan's launch pads as well as advanced installations. Here you see it. One of them clearly being completely destroyed as multiple rocket strikes. You can see that, ladies and gentlemen, would be MMG fire. That is also small arms fire that is being done. So this is, you're not seeing the artillery launches, but you've got a glimpse here of the mortar, MMG and rocket launches that are happening and taking on locations on the other side of the line of control. Ajay Jandyal, my colleague, is joining us. Ajay, are you still with us? Can you hear us? Ajay, can you hear us? Okay, we'll get Ajay back. We and Jack, now we are hitting back, obviously, and I'm assuming we are hitting back pretty hard, probably harder than we are saying we are hitting back, for sure. But yes, you are absolutely right. Even the Iron Dome is not foolproof. Even the American defense systems are not foolproof. Something will get in, but proportionally we have demonstrated that our ability to get through is much larger than their ability to get through. That's what we have proven. Fair enough. But again, do we do this again tonight?
Morning, if you know, your reporters must be giving a feedback that many of our bases, many of our civilian areas have been hit today morning, from today morning onwards. It is happening constantly, Rishabh, whether we can close our eyes and assume that nothing has hit us. Look, air defense is a passive way of countering, but military doctrine, dictates, I don't suggest advice, it dictates that you put the enemy onto the mat. And that is where most of us, we are slightly baffled that India has got all those assets at its hand. Leave aircraft. Aircraft is one way of, putting the enemy on the mat. We have got many other assets, static or the non-mobile assets. And we know all those pinpointed places from where the attacks are being mounted, whether it is the air base, whether it is the drone base, or whether it is the missile base. We know it. We have got assets in the sky, which will tell us pinpointed. It will give us a coordinate. So why are we waiting for them to launch? Rishabh, this baffles me as an Indian Air Force person.
Again, I've been saying this since yesterday, okay? For all of us who are operating in an information vacuum, we do not know what is going on. We've had plenty of time to think through what we intend to do. I don't think it's any surprise to us that the Pakistanis have responded in the way they have. If we thought that you're going to do 9 missile strikes and the Pakistanis will sip tea and go away, obviously not. So we knew what they were going to do. I think we have a fair assessment of what their capabilities are, what our capabilities are, what their munition supplies are, and what our strategy is. Now, just because we who are not completely aware are not being able to understand it, does not mean that this is purely reactive, muddle along as you go, reaction taking place. I don't think that's it at all. But yes, it is reasonable for us to draw open conjecture that if indeed our war aim was to target terrorist infrastructure in Pakistan, what was the success we achieved on the 9th? Clearly there was some. Did we actually eliminate some high value targets? Destroying a couple of buildings, of course, achieves nothing, right? You're sending a message, which is important, but did we actually eliminate some high value targets? Some we have an indication we did, but to what extent we don't yet know. Maybe we won't know for a couple of days. Just stay with me, Mr. Jha. I'm just going through the visuals. I'm coming back to you immediately after this. Now, what you are seeing subsequently is that your war aims have to then change. If the Pakistanis have escalated to what is now, yes, and I use the word undeclared because obviously nobody's declared war. But if you're targeting Jammu, Amritsar, Jalandhar, Firozpur, these are cities with people, and it's indiscriminate targeting. These are not precision strikes. So you are at war. Now, what is then our war aim? What is it today? Is it to prevent Pakistan from continuing this war, or is it to continue attrition until they run out of whatever munitions they have and sue for peace? Is it to create a leverage position with Pakistan? These are open questions. We don't have answers for them. We will not have answers for them which are from the people who are making the decisions, because I promise you one thing, we are yet to hear from PM Modi. He's not spoken to the public yet. And he will speak, I am drawing a safe assessment, when he is comfortable that we have achieved something significant. I don't think we are in a country anymore that believes in damp squibs. And there's a second caveat I want to put out there, that it is under this establishment that we have changed the goalposts. After 26/11, if we were having the same conversations that how we'll hit the Pakistanis and what we'll take out and can we take out their war fighting capabilities and terror infrastructure, our response was a dossier. We wrote a book with the DNA evidence and fingerprints and audio recordings. So the goalposts have been shifted. Now we are debating whether we are or should be destroying Pakistan's Air Force's fighting capacities in a stroke. Whether we should be targeting GHQ Rawalpindi, whether we should at the very least conduct more missile strikes, whether we should in fact blockade the Karachi harbour. So the goalposts are different from what they were after previous terror attacks. So I want to put the caveats out there before we continue this conversation. Mr. Jha, finish your thought, then I want to get Sanjeev ji into this.
Rishabh, before I leave your channel, I just want to say two things. One, that when we, the ex-service officers, we speak to you with the loads of our years of experience in the armed forces. I have 39 years in the armed forces. So when I'm speaking to you, anything regarding the armed forces and armed forces approach right now, I'm telling you those 39 years in my perception. So please take it that way. Today's thought process may be slightly different. Government of India may be having a different approach. That's fair enough, because they are in the position of taking decision today, and that must be respected and regarded. That is one thing. Secondly, look, military doctrine is identical all around the world. Few exceptions, you leave it. And that military doctrine tells you don't get, the assaults onto you. Inflict that assault onto the enemy, paralyze the enemy at the earliest, as soon as possible that you can do it, or debilitate him. Don't leave in a position when he can hit back at you. So this is the preliminary preamble of the military doctrine. I leave it to the armed forces, because they are the people who are in command right now, who are in
position to make the decision.
To
no, and I don't know what the assessment is. I can argue it on all sides. You can argue it that we have credible intelligence that the Pakistanis, their supply routes are choked, that the Chinese will not be able to resupply them fast enough or do not have the intention of resupplying them, and they can only do this for 3-4 days. So before we take on a larger challenge, because let's also not assume that the Pakistani army military will fall over in a day or so. That's also not going to happen. Let's not make that naive mistake which has been made in other parts of the world. Just to stay with me, let me get a different perspective. Patrick Lancaster has been patiently listening in to what is, Patrick, a very rapidly evolving situation, and I take no pleasure in informing you that the only assessment we can make after attacks on India's civilian cities that have now resulted in casualties all along the international border from Gujarat all the way to Kashmir, that's a 1800-kilometer border, we are seeing assaults that are going on every hour, day or night. We are in a state of undeclared war. How are you observing it? What information is filtering out to you?
Yeah, hi. It's nice to be on with you again. Yeah, unfortunately, as I always say, the effect of the wars on civilians, civilian infrastructure is never good, and it's such a horrible thing to see religious sites being targeted here, and unfortunately it's not the first time I see it. As you know, I've done intense reporting in the Ukraine-Russia war, and I've seen Ukraine forces targeting Russian Orthodox churches again and again for years, and this is something that should never be turned to in a modern war, is the attack on civilians and, of course, religious sites. But it appears that's what is happening, and soon I will be coming and doing my best to show my audience what information I can find out as well. So hopefully this attacks on the civilians stop, and of course the religious sites.
Okay, so Patrick, I have to ask you, you'll be aware and probably have you seen for yourself what happened in Pahalgam, the videos that emerged of the terror attacks there?
Yeah, I've seen some of the information coming out, haven't quite got on the ground yet. but soon I hope to be getting some on the
Okay, so
ground
let
information.
me so let me tell you what has happened in Pahalgam. This is a picnic area in Kashmir, which is why all of this is happening. 26 people, men with their families and children, were accosted by terrorists carrying automatic rifles. They were asked their religion, after which they were made to strip their clothes so that they could be checked if they were circumcised or not. And after proving that they were not Muslims, were in fact Hindus, they were shot in the head, and their wives were told to go tell our Prime Minister. Now, we understand the attempt here. The attempt here was to create religious communal hatred in this country, which has not happened. It's been 2 weeks and there were no communal incidents at all. Zero, none, nil, reported from anywhere in a very large country which has 1.5 billion citizens, 300 million who happen to be of the Muslim faith. Now, that's what's happened. Now, we sitting here are finding it very difficult to understand that if such a heinous terror attack has taken place against people who were picnicking with their children, what does it take for people abroad to understand that something like this has happened in India?
Yeah, of course, I've been unfortunately aware of this horrible attack. And yeah, the information force needs to be able to show the world what is happening and what has happened. And that's the reason I'm going to be traveling to India to try to show my audience what's happened. And unfortunately, every side of a conflict only is able to show a little bit of the piece of the pie. And as I tell all my audience, get as many sources as possible to educate themselves on what's really happening. That's like what I do here on the front line between Ukraine and Russia. Show a little bit of the part of the pie that's not being shown in the mainstream media.
Okay.
And that's what I'm hoping to do.
All right. We're looking forward to hosting you in case you need assistance in gaining entry to India. Reach out to my teams. They'll help you out in putting you in touch with the right places. At least Patrick Lancaster, who works for the Rostov as a war reporter, thank you very much for joining us. I think what we have been given an indication of is that information in international quarters is only filtering through. And there is yet missing deep realization of what has happened on the 22nd of April and subsequently what is now taking place. Lots of developments are taking place. I've been told that there is a second press briefing that has been scheduled for 5:30. That's in 5 hours from now. General Davar is back with us. But before I come to you, General, Group Captain Jha, you want to make a point, and I completely appreciate your sentiment at this stage. We are, of course, unaware of what conversations are going on, what plans are being made, what discussions are happening, and indeed what we are looking to achieve and at what stage. But if our war aim was to send out a pretty strong message and actually target the perpetrators of Pahalgam, can we say that we have done enough?
Well, as far as Pahalgam is concerned, we have done enough. Operation Sindoor was absolute perfect. There was no flaw into it and there was no miss into it. So that was Operation Sindoor as far as Pahalgam is concerned. But Rishabh, I was listening to Patrick. I'm not convinced. If a gentleman from abroad comes up to give his opinion on the things what is happening here in India, and if he is unaware of it, first thing he should say, give me some time, let me grasp what is happening, and then I'll come up. Will Patrick appreciate there has been a similar attacks way back in May 22 at Katra, June 24 at Riyasi. These are the civilians. These are the civilian attacks. And at least I can count you about 36 all the targeted killing of the Hindus in Kashmir. We know.
War reporter in Ukraine, so I'm sure has seen a lot of unpleasant things. But it has given us an indication of how much information is actually filtering abroad. Let me just hold a second. Our big breaking information coming in. Air raid sirens are sounding over Pathankot. It is 12:30. Air raid sirens are now sounding over Pathankot. If you are a resident of Pathankot or nearby areas, kindly be informed that air raid warning is now in effect. Vipin Parmar, my colleague, is joining us. Vipin, what do we know right now? Is it an air raid precautionary warning, or are we suspecting that something is happening in terms of explosions and attacks? Okay. We've lost Vipin. I'll get him back. Vianjak, continue your thought before I get General Dawar. What it is suggesting to us, of course, a person who's seen active war zones understands when people are actually being killed in unpleasant and horrible circumstances. But the point is here that there is still a large vacuum to what you and I have understood out of Pahalgam and what the world has actually understood. For them, for the vast majority of the world, we all knew when 9/11 happened, okay? We all knew when Osama was hunted out. But for a lot of people living in America, living in London, they have no clue what took place in Pahalgam.
Rishabh, you have got more than 25 years of journalism. Were you called to Afghanistan by USA to have a look at the ground? Were you called by the USA to have a look what 9/11 did there in the USA? No, I vary with Patrick. When you are speaking something, you gather the information. Government of India or Rishabh, we will not call you. You keep aware. It is your awareness. Just wait. It is you, as an individual, you are never called to see, look at the things, what is happening with us. We are not, they're here to show you, and people like you, there will be, millions of people like you in the world who doesn't know about it.
Okay, Dr. Jha, I understand that we are at war and under attack, and I understand it. We don't want to make it personal. It's not required. No. Sir, I am as agitated as you are. So you know that I'm as agitated as you are. You sat with me for years, okay, discussing all sorts of things. So let's just take it down a notch, okay. The only reflection we are getting is that if we are taking it for granted that everybody in the world is even aware of the details of Pahalgam, then we are living in fool's paradise. We are not. Now, somebody who's interested in finding out about it is always welcome to come and find out about it, and I agree with you. That should be done first hand. I've got a lot of. Is Vipin back with us? Vipin, can you hear us? Can you update us on what's happening in Pathankot? Vipin, take it away. Vipin, can you hear us? Okay, forgive me. He's in transit. They're arriving in Pathankot very, very shortly, and I can tell you that air raid sirens are confirmed over Pathankot. It's broad daylight, and I don't know if this is precautionary. This is not a blackout because already broad daylight, but air raid sirens are in force. We have seen in the past 30 minutes that there have been explosions and air raid sirens operating over the city of Jammu. They are currently operating over the city of Pathankot. So far, I have no reports of increased shelling at this point of time. Let me get a perspective in. I'm told there is a second Ministry of External Affairs briefing scheduled at 5:30. General Dawar, it's a good thing that if they were to come out and brief us at least a couple of times in a day, so that we are not in a complete information vacuum, or it could be that there is something important to inform the country about. General Dawar, can you hear us, sir? Okay, I think it's frame. Yeah, General Dawar, go ahead. We can hear you now. Go ahead, sir.
I didn't get your.
Yeah, there is a MEA briefing now scheduled at 5:30. It's the second one for today. Now, I know that Marco Rubio has spoken with Ambassador Jaishankar in the past couple of hours. We are getting statements from Pakistan that are alluding from the Pakistani foreign minister that if India stops, we will also stop. Now, you can read into that whatever you may. So, what do you think is now going on? Because obviously something is going on behind the scenes.
Yeah. I think you're right. If the U.S. Secretary of State has spoken to our External Affairs Minister, and which I really doubt, if the Pakistani Foreign Minister has made a statement that if India stops, we'll stop, well, that's a bit of an encouraging sign, though I'd like to, really ascertain whether he said it or whether it's part of some fake news somewhere by somebody else, things like that. So we've always from day one, which was 22nd, we've always said, we've always been non-escalatory in our approach. And our government and senior officials have said this many times. But the Pakistanis under General Asim Munir refused to listen. They've been going on and on. And if they go on, well, fine. We are not going to spare them either. We are many times stronger, but we are many times mature also. So how many times will we keep looking the other way and hoping that that Pakistanis will forgo
if you'll allow me, I pardon the interjection.
Policies.
General, I'm coming straight back to you. Barun, my colleague, is joining us. He is in Pathankot. Barun, अगर आपको आवाज आ रही है, वहाँ पर क्या चल रहा है, क्या वार्निंग इशू हुई है?
सर, आज सुबह करीब 10 बजे के समय जो है सायरन की आवाजें सुनाई दी पठानकोट एयरबेस के बाद, जिसके बाद 50 से 70 जो है ड्रोन एयरबेस के ऊपर घूम रहे थे, जिसको इंडियन एयरफोर्स की तरफ से जिसको नष्ट कर दिया गया। उसके बाद ठीक 2 घंटे बाद अभी जो एक्सक्लूसिव आपको फुटेज भेजी है कि पठानकोट के साथ ही हिमाचल का इलाका जो डमटाल लगता है, वहां पर पाकिस्तान की तरफ से एक मिसाइल को दागा गया था, जिसको अपने एंटी ड्रोन सिस्टम ने जो है नष्ट कर दिया। और वो यहाँ पर डमटाल के ऊपर पहाड़ों के ऊपर आके वो मिसाइल गिरी है, जहाँ पर मौके पर जो है पुलिस अधिकारी पहुंचकर उस मिसाइल के पार्ट्स को अपने अंडर लेके उसको फोरेंसिक के लिए भेज रहे हैं।
Okay, these are deferred visuals that are playing on your screens. And my reporter on the ground who is hearing and seeing this is reporting that there is some sort of ordnance, aerial ordnance that has either been shot down or has impacted in a hilly area outside the residential areas of Pathankot. You can clearly see a large plume of black smoke in what is looking like a forested area on your screens. The air raid warnings remain in effect in Pathankot. If you are in Pathankot, you are advised not to be on your rooftop shooting, video recording these things. It's better to remain inside. And if debris or munitions is being spotted in open fields or forested areas, please stay away from it. Inform your local authorities. It could be unexploded ordnance that you do not want to approach, and even if it's not unexploded ordnance, it is better to be collected by the military or the local police to either be diffused, analyzed, or even forensic examination, for which can then happen. General Dawar, let me just come straight back to you. Now, two things could be happening. Either that there is a possibility that things are now winding down, so the Pakistanis making hay of it before some sort of ceasefire is declared. This is a possibility. It's not abnormal war practice to give it everything you've got because you're expecting an impending ceasefire. Or it could be that we are just going further on the escalatory ladder.
Right. It could be both. I think both the options you've given are plausible, are practical, could be done. And let me tell you, as for the first option is concerned, if you know that the ceasefire is at 2100 hours tonight, it is a normal practice. I won't say practice, but a bit of a habit of the armies or people facing each other, that they start lobbing extra shells at each other, trying to, get a few more casualties to be put on the other side. That can happen. That's a little immature way of doing it, but it does happen. Now, as far as the other thing is concerned, that you mentioned that it's just a mere talk and escalation will take place. As far as the professional armies are concerned, which the Indian Army is or Indian Armed Forces are, we should be prepared for the worst till an actual ceasefire takes place. We should carry on with our contingency planning and whatever plans we have put. We have thought over it and put them through and attain success. And if the ceasefire comes, great. Because what is Pakistan achieving by having killed 16 people along the Punch-Uri belt? I mean, they are poor villagers, farmers who stay on the line of control since ages. So what have you achieved by killing, let's say, 16, 20 people? You achieved nothing whatsoever. Or you hitting a school somewhere where 2 little boys died. I heard this in the morning, or was it late last night?
Yeah, late last night. It was a Christian school, yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, in the sense, what do you achieve? You achieve nothing. Well, you shed your blood for your country when you're defending it, when you're achieving something which, you got out to achieve something which is noble. and not just hitting at poor tourists or things like that. That is terrorism. That is what differentiates a soldier and a terrorist. There's a world of a difference.
On your screens right now, this is again a rejoinder to propaganda that is being shared by the Pakistanis. The latest one, and I mentioned Jhutistan. The latest one claims that missile strikes have struck Delhi and there is large explosions taking place in the national capital. That's simply not true. They've taken some random videos from elsewhere in the world and are calling these missile strikes on Delhi. So this is not true. It is being circulated by the Pakistanis and being put online. So the information warfare is happening. You can only counter untruth with truth. Sanjeev ji, who's been very patiently listening to all of it as we absorb so many developments. Sanjeev ji, well, here we are, sir. Now either we have peaked and we are done, okay, and at which point of time then we have to assess what have we achieved, or we are now nowhere being done and this is only the beginning of what is total war.
Well, I think we are, Rishabh, we are responding in an appropriate manner, and a befitting reply is being given. And I think our fight must go on, and also we must fully mobilize our resources and full might, and this fight must be fought and won, and deterrence must be established on Pakistani mindsets, and they must be deterred for what they are doing. And this kind of aggression against our nation is totally unacceptable to this new India. And to ensure that kind of a deterrence, we have to mobilize all our resources, whether our national resources or our diplomatic resources, whichever ways it could be done, that kind of a deterrence level, we have to do it. Now the two options which we are discussing, whether we must take out all the capabilities of Pakistanis to attack us, that is the one thing, that is the ultimate thing. But another point is that we must deter them for what they are doing, to instill some fear on them that they will have to face as very severe consequences. I think at this point of time, India is maintaining a lot of restraint, and we are responding to ensure that kind of a deterrence on them.
Okay.
But if they continue escalating it, then India might have to go for
but at which
some
point?
bigger
But the question is at which point? What is a further escalatory track that we are waiting for? And that's the contrarian view that V.N. Jha is giving us, and others agree with this view. That what do you wait for them to launch an armored attack onto Pathankot before you respond? Obviously not. No. It has been confirmed to us this morning that they have moved troops to forward areas. Okay, that's been confirmed to us that they have done it. Now they have done it for what? You could argue they have done it as a defensive measure. Case history does not allude the same. And if you are loony enough to still think that you won in 1971 after having filed an unconditional surrender, then you might still be loony enough to think that, you know what, we can take Pathankot, and if we couldn't do it in 65 and 71, we can do it this time around and nothing will happen. Let's go for it. So anything is possible. In wartime, anything is possible. So I don't want to preclude it. So it's a reasonable question to ask when. Now, like I said, there are two options. Either it's done. The phone calls have happened and Pakistan's got enough to save face, and we have achieved what we intended to achieve, of which we will hear later. Okay, I'm expecting that will come straight from the top. That won't come from the press conference of the Air Force. That will probably come with a message from India's Prime Minister that this is what we set out to achieve, this is what we have achieved, and this is what we think settles the position for us in the interim. So either that decision has been made and things are winding down, and when things wind down, as you've just heard, generally every side makes the go for it. They dump everything they've got because they know it's ending soon, or it's just escalating, that forget nighttime raids, now it's full 24/7 bombardment that is going to take place all across the Western Front. You can make a judgment call for yourself which you would prefer, and I leave it to that open question. Before I let Patrick go, Patrick, let me just put in that thought, because you understand circumstances here, having been a war reporter yourself, are very, very tense. So what is then your assessment, having been given the information that you've just received from us here in India, that if you were to undertake an understanding of the situation here, how would you go about doing it?
Thanks for letting me respond. I just want to be clear. Perhaps I was misunderstood before. Yes, I'm fully aware of many of the circumstances of the terrorist attack on the tourists. So I believe I might have been misunderstood. As we spoke yesterday in your show as well, I'm aware of the specifics, maybe not all the specifics, but a large amount of the specifics of that terrorist attack. And yeah, it appears that war is escalating, and I do agree with you, as I've seen dozens, if not over 100 ceasefires here. It does tend to increase the firing on both sides of a contact line just before the ceasefire. So, and to answer your question directly, how to understand the best of a situation, to go there and see it for myself. And that's where I was going with my response.
All right. Okay, Patrick, appreciate your thoughts on this. As I mentioned, thanks for joining us on the broadcast. Let me quickly go back to General Davar. So, General Davar, now I'm going to come back to my original point, which was that we would have made some assessment, because in an unprecedented move, and I couldn't believe this happened, just like I couldn't believe this morning that we've actually released photographs of the runways of the forward air bases, which is potential security risk, but they've been done to counter misinformation that those air bases have been destroyed. I couldn't believe that the actual footage of the real-time munitions impact on the original 9 attacks was released. I mean, we could tell exactly what was being used, where was it being used, which was a missile, infrared footage, everything was released into the public domain. Now, I'm presuming that both human intelligence, your satellite intelligence, electronic, everything that you have is also been doing a damage assessment. What is it that we took out? Did we actually hit some high value targets? Now, that has not yet been made public. The only public statements we have are coming from the Pakistani side, and the public funerals that you're seeing, state funerals you're seeing on the Pakistani side. So, should we leave room open that perhaps indeed some high value targets were eliminated in that strike, which would then suggest to us that what we intended to achieve was achieved, and if the escalatory ladder stops, we can walk away?
Right. You see, the best person or persons or organization who have to take this decision whether to release or not to release is best left to them, because they have the complete data, and which is factual and things like that. You see, certain data must not be released unless and until you're sure that it will not affect the security aspects of your capabilities. Your capabilities should be kept, slightly under the wraps, because otherwise the enemy can also take, actions which will prevent you then from taking actions against the new target. So I think it is best left to the people who are fighting this battle, who are controlling and commanding our forces, and they know what to do or what not to do. And once the war is over or the conflict is over, then you can release it as part of, informing people, as also part of when you carry out the lessons learned from a particular conflict. So there's nothing much to go into it. Let's leave it to our decision makers and people who are fighting the battle for us.
So let me get a viewpoint from Vienja. Vienja, now either this goes all the way, okay? And if it doesn't go all the way, and in a hypothetical situation it ends in 3-4 hours, or ends tonight, or ends tomorrow morning, okay, then we have to assess what is it that we were intending to achieve. did the Pakistanis think that we will prepare the country and you open the Union war book and do that much level of planning over Pahalgam? Probably not. Okay. They were thinking that we'll again do a couple of missile strikes on the LOC and end it. They were certainly not expecting a strike on Murid K, because Murid K and Bahawalpur would have been empty otherwise. The family members of Masood Azhar would not have been sitting there, sipping chai. So we have definitely achieved tactical surprise on that. We have potentially perhaps taken out some high value targets. So if it ends today or tomorrow and we do an assessment, have we done the revenge of Pulwama, which is what our goal was? Our goal was not, we didn't say we're going to take over POK, we didn't say we're going to dismember Pakistan, we said we're going to avenge Pulwama. Would we be satisfied as a country that at the most extreme level a terrorist attack has been answered?
Well, in one word, we have fully avenged Pahalgam. There is no doubt about it. But whether we have avenged the entire scenario, answer is no. And this must not happen. What option you have given, that in case if ceasefire happens and both countries go back, look, you are giving a very bad precedent that Pakistan can start a war onto us, and it goes without the bleeding nose. It will be a dark spot on the Indian armed forces forever. This will be, deliberated 100 years later, that there was a time when Pakistan mounted almost all-out attack with drones, with missiles, with aircraft onto the Indian territory, and it came unscathed, by and large unscathed. That I'm slightly at different with General Dawar. General Dawar has got,
I don't think he suggested that at all. That's just a scenario that I'm positing to you.
Okay, fair enough. So I don't agree with that scenario that India should just say that, okay, ceasefire has happened, so let us go back to the barrack. Pakistan has mounted armed forces attack against the armed forces. They must receive a bleeding nose. That is the basic point of it.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, fair enough. Sanjeev ji, I need to take a very quick break because I'm going to take a pause for the cause. I tell you this every day. It is useful for me because if I'm sitting live on television, I'm disconnected slightly. I'm going to speak to a few people, reorient myself, understand what's happening in the larger situation, then come back and sit with you. So I'm going to hand over very shortly. But before that, let me take a quick word from Sanjeev ji. Sanjeev ji, the same scenario. If we have indeed avenged Pulwama in the biggest possible way that anybody on either side of the border could have possibly comprehended 2 weeks ago, then if a ceasefire is done in the next 24 hours, can we walk away and say that we did what we wanted to achieve? Now let's move on with life. Or as VN Jha is saying, that the rules, the situation, the goalposts are now different. The Pakistanis have tried to attack you, they've killed your civilians, and therefore the response has to be completely different.
Well, I think this any kind of a decision on ceasefire must only be accepted based on the assurance that they will not do it again, and deterrence has been established. And if the terms of the ceasefire comes up in gives a sense that they might attack at their will whenever they want, and they want to put us in a challenging situation whenever they want, then I think there is no use to have such kind of a ceasefire.
Okay, yes.
Because it will be broken down.
Yes.
So I think deterrence has to be maintained.
Yeah.
And
so if Munir gives us a pakka promise, I don't think that holds any merit. So yes, it's an open question, and I leave it to the people who have to make that tough decision. On face value, with the level of escalation that Pakistan has taken it to, nobody wants an extended war. I don't want it. I'm sure a lot of people, all of you out there, don't want it. Nobody wants to be living like this for the next 2 months, 3 months. But I also qualify that as we get on with our lives, and thinking of where we are going on holiday and where we are going for dinner and who we are meeting, it's all very fine and good to what tie I can buy and what clothes I can wear. It's all meaningless if I'm out for a picnic with my wife and somebody shoots me in the head. So if you can't defend yourself and defend your people from being arbitrarily butchered, you are in trouble. And sometimes we have to understand that it happened to 26 unsuspecting families 2 weeks ago. It could happen to any of us tomorrow. I have lived long enough to have seen the worst in the places that I have grown up in the national capital. You name the place: Barakamba Road, bomb attack; Greater Kailash, bomb attack. Okay, you can up and down the country. We were inured to it almost, that terror attacks happen all the time. Some train is blown up, some market is blown up, somebody parks a bicycle, somebody parks a scooter. Then there was something different that happened in 26/11. Then something different has happened in Pahalgam. I take a short break. There is an openly fluid situation. We are operating, I repeat, in a quintessential information vacuum. We have to respect that information vacuum. This is not a cricket match with running live commentary. It cannot be one. So we don't know what is going on. We don't know the scale of the counter attack that has actually happened. We don't know whether the Pakistanis and how much nosebleed that we have already caused them. We don't know how many of their munitions we have actually depleted. We don't know what the conversation with the Americans has been, or with the Saudis, and what the terms and conditions will be. But we do know that Pakistan has deliberately aimed and targeted our people, and that's the Pakistani military. That's not the proxy terrorists. We do know that they've given a state funeral to the terrorists with Pakistani flags and wreaths. Now that does not to me indicate that they will do a pakka promise no more tomorrow morning. So let's assess it as we get more information. I take a short break. See you in a minute.
चलो बेटे, टाइम हो गया। मुझे मत ले जाओ। चलना पड़ेगा। मेरी फैमिली, बच्चों की पढ़ाई, घर का खर्चा, इन सब का क्या होगा? फैमिली के लिए पहले टर्म लाइफ इंश्योरेंस लिया होता तो आज ऐसे रोना नहीं पड़ता। सॉरी। आखिरी वक्त पर मत पछताओ। आज ही पॉलिसी बाजार से टर्म लाइफ इंश्योरेंस करवाओ। 2 करोड़